So we're now behind the wheel of the Porsche 986 Boxster, and let's find out if it's the perfect daily driver for you. Let's talk a little bit more about the Porsche Boxster 986. So before we take the car back out on the road later on in the video, I want to give you a deep dive into all the facts that you need to know about the Porsche Boxster 986. Now this is the first generation of the Boxster, and it's a mid-engined, two-seater roadster that was introduced in 1996. It was based on the 1993 Boxster concept, and it's pretty cool that the car we're looking at today has the same silver and red interior that concept car had. Now, an interesting fact is that the Boxster was Porsche's first road vehicle to be originally designed as a roadster since the 550 Spider. Now, why is it called a Boxster? Well, Boxster's name is derived from the word boxer, and that refers to the vehicle's flat, or also known as boxer engine. So what Porsche did is they combined the name boxer engine and roadster to create Boxster. There were three engines to choose from: a 2.5 litre, a 2.7 litre and a 3.2 litre flat six engine. What Porsche did is they changed the base model. Instead of it having a 2.5 litre, the base model Boxster then had the 2.7, and in the same year the Boxster S was introduced, and that was when we got the 3.2 litre engine. In 2003, styling and engine output was upgraded on both variants, and the 986 was then succeeded by the 987, which still retained the Boxster Roadster, but then they also added the Cayman with a fixed roof style into the mix. But today we're focusing on the 986. Another interesting fact about this car is the 986 simply saved Porsche. They had failing sales with aging product designs, and the Boxster is credited for saving the company, and it was their biggest volume seller when it was introduced in 1996. Over the years, there were three different gearboxes you could choose from: a 5-speed automatic, a 5-speed manual, and later on a 6-speed manual was introduced. So let's talk a little bit more about the heart and soul of this car, the engine. The 986 Boxster uses the M96 water-cooled, horizontally opposite, flat 6-cylinder engine. It was actually Porsche's first water-cooled non-front engine. Now the Boxster is a mid-engine car, while the 911 is a rear-engine car. The engines that they used in the Boxster are low displacement versions of the 3.4 litre flat 6 that you would have found in the 996 Carrera from the same era. Now, what are the benefits of having a mid-engine layout? Well, it provides a low centre of gravity and a near perfect weight distribution over the front and rear axle, which really gives you neutral handling. Depending on which gearbox and engine you get, they weigh between 1,250 to 1,320 kilograms. Coupled with having a mid-engine setup, this allows you to turn on a dime. Now, as the Boxster ran from 1996 to 2004, there was a facelift. The minor facelift happened in 2002, and what did they do? Well, they replaced the plastic rear window to a smaller glass window, which had a heating element in the soft top. They also added a glove compartment, new electromechanical hood and trunk release mechanisms, and an updated steering wheel. They also installed a reworked exhaust pipe and air intake. And the front headlights, which had amber indicators on the one we're reviewing today, were then changed with clear indicators. Again, at the back they did something very similar. The rear light cluster was changed with translucent grey turn signals instead of the amber ones. The side markers on the front wings were also changed from amber to clear. And the bumpers were also changed slightly to give a more defined and chiselled appearance, and new wheel designs were also available. So they made changes in the facelift, but the car we're looking at today is a pre-facelift from 2000. Now on the screen right now, I'm showing you all of the different engine options with their 0 to 60 times and their top speeds. Now the car we're reviewing today is from 2000 with a 2.7 litre engine, so we have 217 horsepower. And we have a 5-speed manual, which means our 0 to 60 time is 6.5 seconds. Now compared to modern cars, that is not overly quick, but you're not buying this car for the stats, you're buying this car for the feeling. So before we head out onto the road, let me give you a very quick rundown of everything you need to know about this specific Boxster that we're reviewing today. This car was built in 2000 and it is in Arctic Silver with the Boxster Red interior. It has a 5-speed manual and the 2.7 litre engine. Now, some of you keen Porsche enthusiasts may notice that it has a Boxster S bumper on the front, but that is purely cosmetic. So now you know everything you need to know about the Boxster. Let's take it out on the road and see what it's like to drive. So, why choose a car like this, where you're looking for something that gives you that raw driving experience with a 5-speed manual and a big engine at the back? So what is the engine? Well, we've got a 2.7 flat 6 in the back, and I love this noise, around 3000 RPM, has a really deep angry growl. But then, rev matches nicely, you can drop it down into second, and on a twisty lane like this, it's the perfect place. And you've certainly got more than enough power to have fun. I believe it's in the low 200s horsepower, this car, but what do you really need? Because you've got the wind in your hair, which means you can hear that exhaust note perfectly. You don't have a computer in the way, it's just you, the car, which really is a raw driving experience. Now, having a manual is something that's really dying out. Most cars nowadays don't even come with a manual as an option. Luckily Porsche still do, but for example like the Mercedes SL, only in an automatic now. So being able to drive a manual in 2024, it's not something you can take for granted, because you don't know how much longer you'll have engines out there with all the emissions and the electricity cars that they're trying to build. So definitely worth having one in your life before it's too late. So now let's give it a first gear pull all the way to red light. And that's 60, so it's more than fast enough to have fun. Now you can rev match. Oh, the exhaust note is glorious. That flat 6 makes such a lovely noise. Even like you get that little burble when you let off. As I'll now be cutting to the microphone at the back of the car, really to give you the noise that you can get from a car like this. You just don't get cars like this anymore that are this raw. You don't have all those annoying computers in the way, taking part of the fun away. It's just you and the machine. And I think that's something we should really cherish. So this car is silver with a red interior. I think it's a really nice way to do it, because you've got, you know, a more understated color on the outside, but then you have this really vibrant experience on the inside. And again, we're only at 2,500 RPM right now, and just when you're slightly on the throttle, you can hear that really deep, angry noise that you just don't get with a modern car, which has all these different DPF filters, or if it's a petrol, OPF filters, which just take away all of that raw noise. So this car, as far as I'm aware, is completely bone stock with the exhaust, apart from it has a slightly aftermarket back box. So for a pretty much stock car, you would not get a noise like this out of the factory anymore. And what's the driving position like? Well, I'm 6'4", and to be completely honest, it's certainly a little bit too tight for me. Now, a 911 would probably suit a person of my size better, because you have that longer wheelbase, but it's not uncomfortable. Certainly for a Sunday bash, you could sit here for a good couple of hours, but I'd say if you wanted to use it as a GT car, if you're someone of my size, maybe look at a 911, just so you get that little bit extra legroom. So I want to talk a little bit about the convertible aspect of this car. Now, in the UK, we don't always have a sunny days, unfortunately. And there was an option, I believe it was an optional extra, because not all of them have it, and that was to have a hard top, which you can put on in the summer. This car doesn't have that, but because you've got that electric roof, it's so easy to put it down. So if you get, like we've got today, a nice bit of weather in the evening, you can easily go out for a drive through the hills with the roof down, and you can put it back up, and it's super fast and easy. So by having that electric roof, it makes it very easy as a daily driver. What's the controls like? Well, the steering is super precise. There's almost no play in the wheel before you start to turn in. It's not light steering, but it's not heavy steering. It's a really nice mix. Porsche really got it right with the way this car feels. Now the pedals, so they're quite small pedals, I'd say, for someone with around size 11 feet like me, but they're certainly manageable. You can definitely feel that the accelerator is slightly more over to the left than you would find in, let's say, a Mercedes, but once you adjust to it, another Porsche going by sounded pretty sweet. You certainly adjust to the way you drive this car. And now let's talk about how the seats are. Well, I really love the bolster they've got. They really hold you in position because, you know, Porsche knew that you were going to drive this car like you stole it. And they want you to be in your seat as you're throwing it around the corners. You always feel like you want to be a gear down in this car. I mean, I'm in fourth now at 2,000 revs, and it just doesn't feel like we're doing it justice. So you pop it down into third, it's still not really that happy. Then you give it second, now it feels a lot happier. With a car that accelerates like this, you know, yes, it's not the fastest car in the world, but that's not the whole point. It's more than fast enough to have fun, but you have that raw driving experience that you just don't get anymore. So that really sums up my thoughts of the Porsche Boxster. Now, we've already talked in this video all about the specific stats, but I think if you're looking for the ultimate fun car for the weekend, roof down, flat six, engine in the back, look no further. Let's rev it out.